present the next run here. It's going to be a run of Metal Gear Solid 2 by hau5test. So without further ado, take it away.
All right, hello everyone. Thanks for having us here today. It's the second time with Metal Gear at this event. Last time we have seen Nick, that also was the runner before this run. And we're going to continue the Metal Gear series with Metal Gear Solid 2, which is definitely in the future, unlike Metal Gear Solid 3. And bring you the future, I also bring you a theory, which is not an actual theory, that's the name. But thank you, Fury, for coming in here and commentating with me. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, and let's get ready to start off this run. As I said, we're going to play normal difficulty here, full game, first chapter and second chapter all together, and we're going to start in 3, 2, 1. Let's begin.
Let's go.
All right, we're going to start off with a little bit of introduction and starting sequence, but also we're going to immediately get going on setting up a few tricks that we're going to use a little bit later. So, Fury, why do I want to have my gun empty as quickly as possible?
Yeah, so this is hau5test is doing a new trick that was discovered pretty recently by another runner, a really good runner of this level particularly, because this game splits the two halves of it into individual levels as well, by the name of Prozac. And he found this trick that is similar to a trick that was found in MGS1, where we could skip through doors, a specific door. And he found a way to do it in this game, and it saves us 30 seconds, but it requires a throwable item. So in this game, you can get an empty magazine, and that's what hau5test is referring to. He's going to empty his gun so that he can generate a magazine. On higher difficulties, such as easy and normal and everything else above, the game does not give you a magazine for free. You have to generate one, and the only way to do that is to empty your gun, right? Because then Snake will pull out the empty mag. And very easy, you just get given 7 of them off the start. So hau5test, like he said, he is running around to generate a magazine before this fight. He could get one in this fight, really, so it's not a big deal if he didn't get it.
Yep. We're starting right away with the Olga fight here, where hopefully she would have gone left, but she went right. So we're going to go with a little backup and watch this little cutscene.
Yeah. There's two. This fight can go either way. Basically, she can run left or right. If she runs to the left, she'll run behind this, wait a few seconds, and then run out. And then you can headshot her early. And if you get a left side, you can get a faster Olga. You can save yourself about 10 seconds. You can skip that little mini cutscene you saw where she talks. She does this little speech. Unfortunately, hau5test didn't get that. But also, really, in a marathon, you probably want a right side just for safety, because running left, it's not guaranteed that you can skip the mini cutscene. Sometimes you just don't get it. It's RNG, to be honest.
And with a little dash drop where we can see animation of falling down.
Yeah. So you can mash square as Snake or Raiden, the other character you'll see later in the plant section. As you drop off a ledge, if you mash square on a certain set of frames, you can just skip the falling animation, and it saves it saves 0.8 seconds. So it's a big time save for this level, especially on the IL.
Yep. I'm going to take a meaningful alert here, because what's coming out soon is, for me at least, a little bit easy under alert.
Yeah, some really cool different strats in this game. We have what we call alert strats. Some rooms you want to take an alert in because it actually sets up the next few rooms faster, things like that. Because you don't have to wait for certain rooms. You enter a room and you'll get this mini cutscene. On alert, you can't get the cutscene. The game won't allow it. So here's the trick that hau5test was set up for, Prozac skip, as it's known. So he's going to chuck the mag, turn, and boom. There we go. Skipped 30 seconds of this entire level. He would have to normally, the old route, we would go through the engine room. It's like 30 seconds. You just have to run through, avoid the guards, things like that, get into this room, shoot the sensors. But thanks to Prozac, he found a skip that just lets us skip the whole engine room, because that door is actually sealed shut. You can't get through it. But hey, we just throw a magazine, turn Snake around, that pushes his hitboxer and touches the trigger.
Yeah, the backup would have been, I specifically made a second magazine after Olga, but ideally I do this first try. And this trick, if you do it just often enough, it is fine. It's actually not luck dependent, so it's just execution at the end of the day. But even that can sometimes still fail, so I was still lucky that I got a first try here. It's always nice.
If he didn't get a second mag, if he didn't make a second mag, he could also grab Chaff as he comes down from Olga as a backup. But as we saw, hau5test doesn't need it. He's played enough normal. He knows.
Yeah, I started learning this category specifically last December when in our speedrun community we made a little tournament. I'm doing actually Metal Gear Solid 2 already way longer in the very easy category for like almost 2 years soon.
Yeah. It was the second RNG part, technically. There's 2 RNG parts to this level, to the tanker level. You saw the first one with Olga. This is the next one. These guards can sometimes just wait. Yeah, here we go. This is an example of it being RNG. This guard here that House just killed, sometimes he'll come right out and it'll be, you can headshot him easily, which is quicker. Obviously there, he just waits sometimes. So there's not much, there's no way to manipulate it. It's just luck of the draw.
Yep. It is what it is.
Now we're into the holds, which is the final 3 rooms of the tank here, and we're going to see a cool trick called ladder glitch. What House is going to do is a specific set of inputs here with a camera, and then what it's going to do is basically, I guess this is the only way I can describe it. It's 2 animations playing at the same time, and one takes priority over the other. So you can't equip the camera, because if you equip a camera in this game, you immediately go into first-person view, but you climb on the ladder as you do that. So the game gets confused. And it's like, well, I can't put you in first-person view on the ladder, so I'm just going to use the ladder's animation and override the first person, which allows us to just skip the ladder and fall down, as you saw.
Yep. We'll also to skip this entire falling sequence. And then, sadly, we have to go the ladder for the second half anyway, or else we would die from the fall damage. Alright, time to take a few pictures. We specifically have to get the Marine logo, but you think, hold on, he didn't do that. Well, here's the thing. We're playing this game in 16:9. This is the Xbox version ported over to PC. And some funny things happen if you port this game over to 16:9. This also works on the HD versions of the game, where all of a sudden the hitboxes for these angles that you need to hit get stretched a little bit, and then the Marine logo actually can be hit from like a second position here only. And that's the tanker chapter already done.
Yeah, we call this 2-spot photos, because House only has to stand in 2 positions. Normally you'd have to stand in about 3 or 4, give or take.
Yep.
But yeah, that's House explained. We don't have to do that, which is nice.
Yep, no time for the big chapter, actually, in the Big Shell episode, or Plant chapter, as it's called in the selection. And I've been practicing specifically this one a lot, because this one is longer, and there's also way more things happening one after another, so... Here, I always think that's when the run really begins, because Tanker on its own is nice. Many people run specifically just Tanker because it's a very short speed run. If you've seen it, you know, like less than 6 minutes. But Plant then is when the game really opens up and we have so many more things that we can do.
I mean, this is the majority of the game.
Yep.
It's the next 50 minutes.
Yeah, as you can see, my data has already been entered, and that is because we're playing on New Game Plus. We specifically do that because we want to actually later skip a cutscene, or 2 actually, where Stillman explains the bomb freezes for us. So, on top of course, that we don't need to enter the data, we're also going to skip 2 cutscenes here, playing on New Game Plus.
Yeah, no one really knows how long that cutscene is.
It's insane.
Some people say it's 3 minutes, some people say it's 400.
I tried to watch it, I couldn't make it through. It's so long.
No one's ever timed it.
Yep. I'm gonna quickly go here also all the way to the back again, because the center cupboard here has another ration. You could go by with just 1, but it's normal. It can quickly happen that you take too much damage, and as a backup, especially for marathons, I just like being able to go here like this.
Yeah. It's just playing for safety, that's all, just in case. Because you never know how certain rooms can go. Sometimes you can do a room multiple times over and get it the same way, and then this one time someone will shoot you an extra time for no reason. Like,
yeah,
just the way it is. Sometimes you get caught on a wall, you get hooked up, you end up in a slower room or something. Just to point out, you'll see these timer in the top corner, and you'll see in the bottom it says test active. This is an external program, not an external program, I suppose. It's a script that was written, a bunch of scripts that were written for the community by one of the legendary members of our community, BMN. So shout out to BMN. He made these scripts that basically give us our in-game timer, which is how we measure. You know, that's how we submit these games based on IGT, not RTA. And the test active is just a GUI script that lets us see when we've got turbo active. And yes, turbo is allowed in this game. We allow turbo for multiple reasons.
Mainly because we're getting older and we notice we don't want to have RSI.
But it just makes skipping through codecs and cutscenes consistent.
Ooh, nice.
Throughout the run. So
that was a gold split door.
Nice.
All right. All right, it's time. We're finally gonna meet not Solid Snake. This is Pliskin. And he also gave us a gun, and I didn't want to do this one.
Nice cartwheel there.
With riding, we always want to do cartwheels because they're slightly faster rather than just walking. But if it happens like this, for example, where you have a bad cartwheel and don't actually go when you want to go, of course you lose time again. So that's the risk of it.
Yeah. Every cartwheel saves, I think it's like 0.2 seconds or something, or 0.02. As long as it's in a straight line. If you cartwheel into a wall directly and you stop, you lose a second.
Bridge here, for example. Yeah.
If you cartwheel against the wall but you just slide along with it, you still lose time on the cartwheel.
Indeed.
We do about 300 and I think it's 370 something total over the course of the run, and it saves about 15 seconds total.
Yeah.
It's the whole run.
Especially when you're learning the game first, I would really recommend not focusing on these cartwheels. The specific ones where you go downstairs, they are totally worth it because you do save a lot of time, but just walking versus cartwheeling, you ideally want to just learn the angles first.
That was the cutscene that New Game Plus allows us to skip. That is a really long cutscene, and thanks to the New Game Plus, you can see House was able to just immediately skip through all of it.
Yep. And now it's time to freeze some bombs.
Now we're on to the actual story and the actual gameplay, because that first half you saw House making his way here. It's just so you can get here. It's pretty much not much to do besides run around. Now we're actually doing stuff.
Indeed. We're going to go all around here in the first shell. The second ring will be taken over by Pliskin. Nice fella. Kind of reminds me of someone. Can't put my finger on it. And the way we're going to deal with these bombs is by just freezing them. That's what the whole cutscene was about. And this is the explanation that we can't skip on New Game because we've never done this before. On New Game Plus, the game's like, oh, you already know how to do this, so let's just move on.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
It's quite nice for them to actually think about that and say, hey, players should know after New Game Plus, so we don't need to tell them again. But yeah, House is going to defuse bombs. He's actually doing this. There are two ways to do this. We call counterclockwise and clockwise. House is actually doing what we call counterclockwise. He's going backwards on himself from where he came. And that's because what he's going to do is he's going to use counterclockwise to do a glitch later on that will allow us to save time by skipping 2 rooms. Instead of going through them like you normally would, you would run through them. He's actually just going to do a glitch that allows him to basically teleport to where he needs to be twice in a row. So he's going to do that by grabbing these 2 boxes. The first one is here, and then the second one is he's going to grab later on top of the heliport.
Yep.
And as you notice,
yeah, please.
As I said earlier on the tanker, he's using what we call an alert strat. So he took an alert to specifically set up the next few rooms because they're faster and easier to handle. And we don't care about alerts. It doesn't matter if you get shot. We're on normal, so health management isn't really a concern until you start. Probably on hard and above is where you start. You have to think about, I don't want to take too many shots or accidental shots, but normal and below, it's not a concern.
You will also see in a few rooms that, especially when we have, for example, the guards on the caution like this right now, where they're in different positions, you can actually avoid them easier.
Yeah, and you also notice House was doing a little trick there. He was equipping the coolant, which is the little spray that he has to defuse the bombs. Similar to the camera, when you equip the coolant, it automatically puts you in first person. You cannot be in third person normally without the with the coolant on. And what he's doing is, as he's crawling, because it's slower than general movement, he's standing up and...
Well, that was it. I think I just heard an alert beep. It sounded exactly like the UK test system that we also had in Germany just a few weeks ago. And in case, I'll just take care of this bomb here.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Moving on.
Moving on. He was doing a trick. Basically, when you lay down, you move slower, as you can imagine, because you're prone. When he stands up, as he starts to stand up, as the animation starts, he equips the coolant, stands up, equips the coolant, then unequips it, and it will skip the animation of standing up. So Raiden will just be straight back up and ready to go. And it's faster than obviously just crawling and standing up, because the animation's quite long to stand up.
Yep. Animation cancel comes in many flavors, and that's one of them. We're also going to see later another one, which helps us get over a gap a little bit easier.
And he's using the box here. The box is actually really useful outside of the glitch that we're doing. As you saw there, he equips the box, because when you get shot in the box, Raiden doesn't stop moving. So outside the box, when you get hit, your character takes a stun. He basically just stops because he's gotten hit by a bullet. So you get stunned and you can't move for a second. But in the box, you just take damage and you can continue moving. And it also helps it like skew the hitbox a little bit. As you saw, that guard tried to kick House, but he actually missed because the box just throws off Raiden's hitbox slightly, so the kick doesn't connect. House is able to just run through the guard and bump him, and then cartwheel through the door, as you saw, which is very nice.
Yep. Those are the little things that shave you off some time versus being like fully alertless. So sometimes, especially in these situations, it's actually worth it getting an alert and then deal with the feature guards a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And then there's rooms like these where when you enter them, the alert actually goes immediately away. So it's not even that we have to carry it all the way to the end.
Yeah, certain rooms just clear the alert because of the story, because there's an upcoming cutscene or something that you need to be able to access to continue.
Yeah. Right, here comes the glitch. So the glitch basically is just that we angle ourselves, press a button, then without waiting, need to go here on the conveyor. And then we can use the actual internal system of teleporting around. So we go from strut E all the way over to strut C.
And that saves him walking all the way back to strut C to pick up this sensor. So he just teleports here. It's back. So you can do this normally. You can get on the conveyor belt, like it's a game mechanic. But you have to stand on this little like loading platform, equip the box, and sit there for like a few seconds. And then the game kicks in, the conveyor belt stops, and there's a little mini cutscene. Takes forever. Well, we just do this. We just glitch, climb onto the conveyor belt, which is not supposed to happen. And you can still use the same mechanic. It still lets you teleport as long as you have the box equipped for the specific room.
Here's another one of those intended alerts, which are fully fine for us because the guard cell was at the top, so we can go here at the bottom. That was funny. And we have enough time here to just defuse a bomb. I probably don't even need to wait for the upcoming guard, because he will probably have turned around already. Let's see.
House is not going to be able to leave this room on evasion, though. So he's going to have to wait for...
I see.
That's fine. He's going to have to wait for the caution to start, because if you leave a room... Leaving this room, we need a codec call. There we go. We need a codec call to be given to us here, and it's a triggered codec call. It always happens here as long as you're not on an alert. And so, because alerts continue, on evasion it also counts. You will not get a codec call or a cutscene on evasion, but on caution it's fine. It will still give it to you. And so House has to wait to get a caution there so that he can get his cutscene. Otherwise he has to go all the way to where he needs to go, enter the room, and then exit and re-enter to reset the room.
Come on.
So here's the second time we did a glitch. That's unfortunate. If you're not
a little bit too eager sometimes.
Yeah, you're not in the right position. You would just slip off.
It can also happen that if you walk too far forward, you drop down again on the other side, and you are like in a very small corner where you can't get out anymore. You basically soft lock yourself until you get the attention of some guards that then hopefully kill you, and then you can continue.
Which is actually impossible and very easy because guards are deaf and blind and they can't hear you in that room at all.
Yeah.
So it's a soft lock reset.
Yeah. All right. Time for the final bomb for this sequence at least, and it's all the way here in the beginning again where we actually started.
Yep. We're actually going to have first boss fight coming up for Plant. This will be the first boss fight, if we can call it a boss fight. You'll see once House finishes the bomb in this room and makes his way back.
Yep.
This bomb can be sprayed from quite far away. As you saw, House was like barely anywhere near it. You could barely even see the bomb underneath the submarine there.
There's even an angle where you don't see it at all and it still works, which is kind of precise. It's kind of funny.
And a little thing about bombs, there are certain angles on certain bombs that allow you to get what we call a fast bomb. Basically what it is the bomb has like 4 hitboxes on it from like each side, each corner sort of thing. And there's certain positions where you can spray certain bombs where you're hitting 3 or 4 of them, all of the hitboxes or just 3 of them, and that will freeze the bomb faster. And there's other bombs that are impossible that you can't do. Like on that bomb right there, there's no real way to get it super fast. You just spray it. It's not a big deal. We don't try to like find some weird angle that lets us get it the fastest because it would just waste more time.
Yeah.
And
speaking of angle, we're going to wait here for specific situations. As we've seen, we punch 3 times. And that's specifically because we want to have Fortune shoot the ceiling a little bit earlier.
Yep. So yeah, this is the first boss fight, if you can call it that. We don't really fight her. We just have to ignore her shots and dodge them. But House actually did a specific thing at the beginning of this fight. Most people probably will think and probably know if you've played this game that, this fight you can't do anything right. You just have to sit there and wait. It's on a rail, it's timed, all that sort of thing. But you can actually manipulate it. This was discovered a few years ago by another runner, Tino, who labbed this out and found out, like, yes, it's on a rail, but you can actually manipulate her by making her destroy certain objects quicker in the room, or pretty much destroying most of the room. Eventually, it speeds up the fight and just makes her shoot the roof at the final, like here, where she brings down the roof, and that means we're at the end of the fight. So House specifically positioned himself in certain spots and had her shoot certain objects in the room to destroy them earlier than normal, and that usually speeds up the fight. It is still RNG a little bit, because she can miss shots. She can just hit you instead of the stuff you wanted to destroy, but for the most part, it is manipulated.
Speaking of it, there's a way to get around this mine, but every time in the marathon setting, I just can't get it. So this is my special place where I always lose 3 seconds. Oh boy. It's fine though. We're just gonna distract the guard here. Yeah, and move on.
On to the next boss fight. This game never stops for the most part. It's go, 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 go the whole time.
Immediately back in an alert here. Fun thing about countdowns, if you die during one of these countdowns, you go back to the beginning where it started. So
yeah.
I have to make my way all the way over to the boss site in one go, or else, you know.
This area is not so bad, but
should be fine.
This part's not so bad, but yeah, you generally never get a continue here anyway.
Yeah, we're gonna.
There is another section.
Funny here. Let's see how the guard turns around. Boop, 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 boop. Like he needs to overcorrect it or to hit me at all.
There is another section later on that has another timer on screen, and that section is actually probably the worst spot to take a continue in, because you actually lose minutes of time. Go on.
Yeah, once again, I used the box here while I was getting shot to not actually be stopping, to be a little bit faster here.
Something over there.
This is going to be the same room again.
There you go.
He shoots. He gets another alert there again to delay these guards. Otherwise, the first guard there that was at the top, he'll actually be on the flat level of the middle of the set of stairs, and he'll just kick House before he can do anything, or shoot him, because there is a guy with a shotgun there, and if you get hit with a shotgun, you just get launched back.
You just get
knocked down. Yeah, you just get knocked down. So, we don't want that. So, here's an example of a fast bomb spray. You see there, like that's way faster than normal. House got that very quickly. That's pretty much what you want on every bomb that it's possible on. And unfortunately, not all the bombs are possible to do that on. But we got the next fight, Fat Man. This is a pretty simple fight. House knocks him down with the claymore. One shot to the head, another shot. He's going to get back up, and then House is going to chase him. Hopefully, he goes in a good spot. This is pretty good. He's not going to go somewhere.
Yeah, I can actually see where he's going next then.
Yeah. Sometimes this Fat Man will just fly off like 1,000,000 miles away from you, and it's annoying because you just lose time. You want him to be close to the 2 bombs that you need to defuse to finish the fight. There we go. Yeah, she was nice.
That's okay.
So he stayed north. And that was the fight.
Not the perfect one, but it's definitely a good one for sure. Oh, I would take this in any marathon.
Here's the final bomb, the big one underneath it.
Yep. Quickly taking care of him, another fast bomb, and then we're good to go. No more bombs for now.
That fight has a non-lethal strat as well, where we use the M9, but it's a lot more trickier to set up. But if done right, it's super fast and it looks super swaggy.
Yeah, and especially on very easy, you can one-cycle him in the non-lethal method. But starting on normal, like easy even, you have to do at least 2 cycles still, and then it gets a little bit hectic.
Yeah, you can one-cycle him on easy and normal, but it requires to do an IL strat that's just even more riskier.
Yep, timing on this is very hard. Like the game wants you to only shoot him twice, and then you should go away. But we can manipulate it with like perfect timing to even need like 4 shots, like 5 I think at most. So we're just gonna do it this way, which is also nice. Alright, time to get some material. We just got the BUD, the enemy uniform, but we're still lacking the second part of our costume in order to infiltrate the core, and that is the AK. So let's go quickly back into Strat F.
Yeah, he's going to have to cross this bridge again. Dodging the claymore mines here by taking a specific path. There's actually claymore mines at each end of this, like as you get onto the bridge, but you can just pass them if you stick to the line and you just skip through their little range, basically, that they have.
Yep.
Which we obviously know the specific paths to get around, so we're just going to take... House is going to do specific paths that will allow him to just dodge all the claymores. You can just run across the bridge and do what we call a damage cancel, where you walk through the claymore and you don't take any damage because you kind of like iframe while doing it, and the claymore will blow up and you'll just carry on going, and it looks cool. It doesn't save any time, it just looks cool because you don't have to take a specific... You can actually be a little bit faster because of the line, but overall it's not saving like anything major. It's not really doing much besides looking good.
Yep. I quickly got rid of one of the stuns. Whenever we pick up grenades here, we actually get 2 in inventory. But for this next trick, unlike very easy, where we actually use both stuns, I only need one. So I'm going to quickly toss one here. And then we clear up my menu later. So I'm going to quickly go here. And now we have to get the directional mic. Because in order to find this contact called Ames, we got to hear his heartbeat. And for that, we need the directional mic.
Yep. So how's going to chuck
doing
the grenade in this elevator here? This is a more recent strat that, like, I think it was known, but we just never used it because that's sometimes how it goes. There's strat.
Works well here for us, so we're just gonna get an alert here and get our guards out of the way. And the intended effect is, because we blow up the stun in the elevator, is that the elevator doors stay open. So we don't need to wait for it to close down.
Yeah. So it saves a little bit of time. It's faster. The elevator will be open here because basically he's chucked the stun in the elevator, so the backup unit spawns there and they hold the door open.
Yep.
So, we're going to make our way to Ames here. He's going to knock on the wall, and this guard inside the room there is going to come out. He's going to set up here with 2 punches specifically, so that when he can immediately grab this guy and go straight into the cutscene.
Yep.
Normally you have to choke him and then drag him over.
You are cleared to enter.
And turn him around so his face, like he's facing the panel. But we just do that.
And once you look at the time, it's after 10 p.m., which means instead of having the normal spawns, we have all the old ladies here.
He's looking for an
internal thing here
called Ames, who has a mullet.
It's not there. Okay.
We'll see which spawn you got.
He must be at the bottom. Nope. Wait, am I stupid?
There he is.
Wait, I just missed him.
Yeah.
What the hell?
So on New Game, Ames is always in a specific spot. But on New Game Plus, we play New Game Plus to skip that cutscene that we said earlier. But an unfortunate downside of that is Ames here will spawn in a different spot each time you play the game.
Yep.
In New Game Plus, he can be any number of these hostages in the room. And so, unfortunately, the spawn that House got isn't a great one. It's in this bottom corner. It's not the worst, but it's also not the greatest. The greatest one, or what we call a God Ames, would be right at the beginning in the first 4 hostages. Right. Yeah, basically, as soon as he turns the corner, Ames would be right there, and that would save you, like, I think it's like 4 seconds, 8 seconds or something.
Yeah, it depends how lucky you are. If you can see with the pause strat, because we're doing IGT pauses if we pause, we can quickly look in the pause menu and see, like, maybe we can spot him early. But didn't happen this time, so I was thinking, okay, I better get moving and start finding him other ways.
Yeah, we do allow what we like to call pause scumming on certain points where you can... We can turbo start and pause the game rapidly on and off to save a few frames here and there, things like that. You don't have to use them.
Mm-hmm. And now I did a specific timing here on these conflicts because these panels that we just knocked out, they will be gone later again when we come back. And it's very important for us that we don't knock out all of them. We're going to keep as many as we can.
If House had knocked out all of them, when he comes back here for a second time, he would actually basically lose time because he'd have to shimmy across or hang.
Yeah.
And shimmy across, which is slower than just running.
Yeah, there's also ciphers flying around that would shoot us and we would fall down, so...
And you got out without the alert. That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
So the next few rooms are a little bit easier to deal with.
Yeah. There's unfortunately no other way to deal with this. We have to carry it all the way to the end. There's no other room where we would lose this alert. But in specific ways, we can get away with just the cautions, so guards are still out of our way for the most part. If we were on evasion, for example, because we had a re-alert, then they would be way closer to us and way more in our way.
And he's got the BDU on here. The game doesn't ever tell you this. It probably because it doesn't need to, and like no one really cares, probably casually. But the BDU actually gives you an extra slight bit of camo. Like if anybody, we saw MGS3 earlier from Nick, there was a camo index. But this game doesn't have a camo index, but behind the scenes, technically it does. And the BDU gives you a little bit extra camo. So guards on higher difficulties obviously have massive vision. They can see you from miles away. But the BDU actually reduces their vision slightly. You do get a little bit of camouflage. And you'll actually see House probably use this after this upcoming fight. These sensors, once he's finished.
Yep. I'm going to quickly shoot all of these sensors here. If you're wondering, wait, he's playing on normal and he's not shaking, that is because in the beginning, before I even started the run, I used about 200 pen tests, then took a death and said, okay, I want to end the game. And what's funny about this, the value for the pen test amount that I've eaten does not get overwritten if I immediately quit out after continue.
No, it stays in memory. So here's the Harrier fight.
I'm
going to get the Fire +1, unfortunately. But
Not a full shot then.
gonna get 4 shot, 4+1. So yeah, the Harrier. That's unfortunate.
Oh, okay. Well, we take it slow. It's fine. We still have one overshot here.
Yeah. So what I meant by 5+1 is how many? It's 5 shots off the start, and then +1 is another shot that we do afterwards because the Harrier flies past on us. Unfortunately, House didn't get it because he missed the stinger. You have to pretty much start this fight as clean as you can to get it because it's all timing based.
It's not just holding forward, you have to be like slightly adjusted to the angle, and in this version at least you just sometimes miss it. There's a version where we can do it, which is the SOS mod, where we have the subsistence camera from Metal Gear Solid 3 in Metal Gear Solid 2.
This is also another downside to this fight. This Kasudka gets in the way, Snake and Otacon just fly in front of you sometimes like that, and it's really annoying. Nice overhead shot though.
I miss it.
He's
miss this one too. We're going straight to Funky Town here.
That is unfortunate. This is actually the slowest the fight can start getting is when you get into this phase here, which we call missile phase. You never really want to see this, and the fight on higher difficulties, you pretty much always come here on higher difficulties. Like, I think you can, even on European Extreme, defeat it before this phase, but it's hard to do. Unfortunately, House got missile phase. It's not the worst.
Okay.
It would still...
Yeah.
You just lose a little bit of time, unfortunately.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how many hundreds of hours you have. Harrier will always be like a small issue here and there. So, oh well.
Leap of faith. Yeah, that probably is far to the edge as you can get before falling off. And then House will skip over the... nice. You skip the mini cutscenes there. When you step on one of those panels that fall off, you get a mini cutscene, but House cartwheeled at the last frame possible, and what that'll do is let you skip the mini cutscene because he just cartwheels over them. Nice.
Yeah, normally we put on the BDU here to shorten the guard's eyesight, and what I did is actually shoot the AK because I wanted to distract the first guard here. The second guard always looks north already, but I wanted to do the same also for the second guard. And by shooting just the amount of bullets, that works.
Yeah, that guy just walks out early instead of standing around, and so, as you saw, House didn't get spotted by him because he turns around, he already walks out.
Yeah, the time save is actually because we don't need to do the menu to the BD, which is way further away from us compared to, for example, the AK.
You see House is equipping his gun there and equipping back. That's actually a little trick. It restarts the animation of Raiden like shifting across, so it's slightly faster. You just reset his movement animation, so he moves across faster.
Yeah, because we have 2 chests, we can use the second one here to still keep the jamming going, and then can just ignore the ciphers.
Yeah. There's multiple strats like that you can do on this way. Some people do no chaff, where they just take the alert and run across the bridge and get shot like once or twice. It's slightly slower, but you don't have to. You save time earlier on not picking up the chaff over picking them up. But they all balance each other out. It's just whatever you're used to and comfortable like doing.
Yeah. You can also use the AK to shoot the cipher at the end there to not get stopped. Stuff like that.
So now he's on Shell 2. This is like the second half of the ending part of the game, or the last part of the game.
Yep.
And we've got to go save the president. But we can't get into his room right now because there's an electrified floor, so we have to go get the Nakia. Now, we've had a few people try hard, and I mean very hard, to skip this section. And we'd have to get out of bounds. Right now, we don't know. There's no way of getting out of bounds that works to skip this section. Yeah. But we know that if we could get out of bounds, we know that we could get into the president's room and skip, not having to grab this Nakia missile launcher here. So it's just a case of we can do the rest of the skip that we would need. We just need to initiate the way to get out of bounds. So
yeah, because the president has a card for us that we absolutely need in order to move on.
Yeah. If we could get out of bounds and skip grabbing the Nakia here, as you saw House go down the floor and swim to go to the swim section to pick it up just then, we would save over a minute easily. It would be ridiculous. Yeah, it would be massive.
All it would require is actually that these 2 floors would be connected, but because we need to load in another level, then we can't go back like this. Oh well.
Maybe one day.
Okay. Yeah, who knows? I mean, I've never thought that we could go the way of the Prozac skipping tankers, so no matter how long you run this game, there will always be things here and there.
I mean, this game is over 20 years old and still finding stuff in this game and many of the other Metal Gear games.
Yep.
So
and even the Twin Snakes, which is based on the MGS2 engine, we found a huge trick where in MGS2 it saves 30 seconds, in TTS it does like 1.5 minutes.
What are you doing?
So it's massive. President
Just gotta hit
just
this
walked
panel.
away. Let's go.
There are
Yeah,
multiple
good to you.
vents you can shoot through, but the one House is using here is the quickest on normal in that room. But you have to take out a gun camera, as you saw, and you have to have enough stingers to do that, because he needs stingers for an upcoming fight.
Yeah, and if your area fight goes not good enough, you don't have enough.
Yeah.
And so it's a
You have to
little
pick up
unfortunate.
spare ammo. There is a box of stinger ammo in this room, and there is also another box later on that you can grab if you don't do another trick, but I assume House is probably going to do said trick.
I will, because I have 11 and you need 10 for the next boss. So I actually have one spare even.
And that's the president. We don't know how he died. We were talking 1 minute, and next minute he's on the
he's
floor.
on the
dead,
floor.
so,
He's just tired.
These photos.
yeah.
Somebody order lunch for him, please.
Looks like he might need some coffee.
Yep. And as we said already, yeah, if only we could find a way into the president's room, that would be everything we need, because
Yeah.
after
That
that,
would
already
break
we load
this
this
game
version
open.
here. Yeah, we don't need to wait for the electric panel and everything. Because the next part that's coming up already allows us to skip the door that we would theoretically.
He's going to do House is going to do a little, one of the few glitches this game actually has in the run. And we're going to do a glitch called Swim Glitch. And what House is going to do is he's going to swim against the corner of a wall and tap specific inputs on his D-pad. And what it's going to do is it's going to keep Raiden swimming into this corner, and Raiden's going to slowly rise up the wall and out of the water, but he'll still be in swimming animation. So that's going to allow is there's no collision on the roof, because obviously the devs didn't expect you to be able to do this. It's not really something you should do. And so we can just skip through this whole swimming section. You have to swim through all these little rooms here. There's a room you open up and there's a cutscene. You have to swim through it and all that stuff. And we can just go over the top and go right to the door that leads us to the next boss fight. Hit the trigger. What that does mean, though, is on the way back, there's a door that House would open if he didn't do that trick. And so that he's going to lose 6 seconds just based off of that. That's unfortunate. He missed the timing on the last shot.
I think I needed to aim slightly further right as well. Let's redo this, it's fine.
This fight is super trivial, but it's usually the timing that gets people. Like we saw there, the last shot. You have to time out each shot here. There we go.
Yeah, 10 shots, perfectly timed one after another. There's a little bit of wiggle room, but I, for some reason, as somebody who calls him a DJ musician, has problem with the timing, so whatever.
It gets everyone. We actually have a visual cue there, is that you shoot the next stinger before, as his health bar turns red when he loses a chunk, before that disappears, you shoot the next shot. So while his health bar is red, that's when you should shoot the next shot, and you just follow that rhythm. You don't even have to we have a specific spot to aim at, so you don't even have to focus on what you're actually doing with your aim. You just set it up and just watch his health bar and just tap out the shots.
And the trick works great on platforms where the game slows down, such as PS2, original Xbox, or for example PS3 even. But on PC, where we don't have that slowdown, because the game actually runs really well, no matter on what PC you have. Even if you have like a very old laptop, it can still run this game well enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, with the no slowdown, it's a little bit harder to time it, at least for me.
Yeah, the PC version is the best version to run this on. It's basically a port of the original Xbox. If people didn't know, MGS2 Soul, which is Sons of Liberty, the original release of this game, came out on PS2. It was released on PS2. And then when they brought up Substance, which is this version, which has the VR missions, all the extra stuff, it was actually originally released for Xbox. It came to PS2 later. So it was an original release for OG Xbox, the big one. And then it was released, subsequently a few months down the line for PS2 and then PC. So, and when it came to PC, it was just a port of the Xbox, the OG Xbox version. And for whatever reason, when they made that version, the in-game timer accounts for, say, like lag and loading times. And on Xbox, it still lags heavily, things like that, but it's fine because the IGT can handle it. But on PC, obviously, we have super quick loading times. Basically, it never lags because, if we're running on modern systems, they can easily handle this game. And so it's basically the ultimate version. It's got a great timer. The in-game timer is almost flawless. It's really accurate.
Super stable, yeah.
Yeah, it's super stable. Doesn't count loading times. So,
And as I said, even if you have like an old laptop and think like, oh, I can't run this game, even if it's from 2002, trust me, even if you
runs.
experience slowdowns, the IGT again accounts for it, and you can compete on the highest level if you want to.
yeah.
There's no disadvantage. That is no an issue. Come on over.
We've had people, we've had runners compete at a high level and they haven't had the greatest systems.
Yep.
And they still...
Especially when you do speedrun races side by side with somebody with a good system. In RTA, you can drift apart multiple minutes, but it will be fine.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, we don't time it based on... Yes, I did wonder if you were going to do this. It's another trick that was found about a year ago. Nice, first time as well. This was found like about a year ago, year and a half ago by another runner named Miss Chelsea's. She was randomly doing a run, and I think the run had died, but she was just going through, just playing out the run. And she got an alert by accident, and a backup unit was coming, so she parked Emma in a little corner, and she stood next to her, waited for the unit to come past, and she was in first-person view. And then when she came out of first-person view, she accidentally bumped into Emma and just teleported her out of the map, just completely pushed her out of the map. Like we saw their house, just teleported her out of existence. And then we were so confused, and I think a bunch of us jumped in a Discord core, and in about an hour, we kind of recreated it and started to figure out what setups work. It's still very heavy RNG for the most part on this section, but the one you saw House just do there in the elevator is pretty... It's execution based. It's no longer so much RNG. It's granted as long as you do the correct setup. This version though on the bridge is unfortunate.
I was just about to give up and we still won't come back because then it resets Emma's position actually further ahead. Now it worked right away. Let's go.
Yeah. Basically what happens is, for whatever reason, there's a specific angle that if you touch her on, she just gets zipped to, I guess, some coordinates outside of the map that you can't see. And then when you have to exit the room and reload the room, and she'll get placed at the end of the room, which is where we need to be. When like right here, she's in here, you just walk in and get the cutscene. Normally you'd have to drag her through both rooms, up the bridge, all the way to this doorway, basically. And instead we just zip her and reset the room, come back, and she's right where we need her to be.
Yep, saves us the headache of dragging it along, killing all the guards that's on the way. Especially, for example, in the core, the first one with the elevator, there would be 2 extra guards. But if I reload the room and Emma's at the end, the 2 extra guards are gone. So I just need to focus on
it also stops the alert, because for whatever reason, when you zip her, all the guards in the map can spot her, and you get an alert. It's the most random thing ever. She's not in the map, but when you teleport her, every guard gets alerted. Yeah, but they do get stuck. They can't chase you. They just get stuck in animations. They're alerted, but they can't shoot you. And some of them are just kicking the wall. So
it's so funny.
It is weird, but hey, it works. It saves us time. So
yeah, speaking of time save, this is something where we can actually not save time. We can just lose time for the next 5.5 minutes where we wait for Emma to walk all the way over here. Yeah. And so I want to hand it over to our host quickly if they want to say something about the event, for example, or if there's donations. Feel free to do so. We have time.
Thank you very much. We do have one donation here. It is a donation by MRKS for the amount of $25, saying trees, trees, trees. Thank you so much.
This whole section's 5 minutes long, and there's nothing to do besides you just have to wait for her to walk along. We had to drag her before or hold her hand, because in the story it says that her legs have been pumped with tranquilizers, so she couldn't walk very well without aid, without someone holding her or any kind of aid. And so we have to drag her by hand. But now she's fine. Oh, that's unfortunate. Just
mistimed it slightly.
Yeah.
Oh well.
The guards got alerted, and so they'll shoot at her, and she crouches, so we'll lose a little bit of time here, unfortunately.
Yeah.
She'll get back up in a minute. But now the tranquilizers are starting to wear off, so in this section she's able to walk on her own, albeit slower than normal.
Yep.
So we just have to sit it for 5 minutes, shoot ciphers, shoot guards, because it's on a timing. This whole thing is on a time. Things will spawn into the map at set points. The house knows when they're going to come in.
Yeah, I'm just going to stay out the wall here.
It's basically based on we'll just base it off of where Emma is at a certain point. She walks to a certain almost trigger point, and then stuff comes in.
Yep.
This is the only section in the game where it's everything starts to slow down, basically, for this whole 5-minute section. It's the one break you get in the run, because otherwise the runs just go all the time. There's no point in which you slow down until now.
Yep.
So
I mean,
although
call
it's
your mom,
nice,
tell you love her, all the good things.
yeah. Although it's nice as a runner, like you've been running for like 40, 50 minutes already, 42 as you can see up there, and it's like, oh, nice, at least I get a little bit of a break. We kind of don't want to because we want to go fast, and there's no way to skip this section right now. We'd love to skip this section. We'd like to find a sequence break. Things have been tested, so everything that we've tested so far hasn't worked. So if anybody can figure out a way to skip this or come up with a way, there is a bounty on the line. There is money to be had. If someone finds a significant, not just for this section, but if someone finds a significant skip that would like break open this game, and it's probably about a minute plus, something like that, like a skip that would save something like a minute or something massive. There's people will be down to like give money for it. So
There you go. Yeah, unfortunately, quickly, because I died, Vamp had to take the death because I didn't have enough stingers. Just so happened that my Penta streak that I set up before the run actually runs out because, of course, as I explained, if you eat like 200 Pentas and have like 2 hours worth of them in you, the value stays. If you take a continue and go out of the game, but if you take a continue and then say, okay, press continue, then this memory address gets overwritten, unfortunately. So now I have to deal again with the proper Pentas usage, I won't say. Yeah, we still have like more than 2 minutes, so how about more info from the hosts?
All right, yes. I do want to talk about our last possible incentive of the marathon. There is an incentive for the upcoming Archipelago showcase where you can donate to make the character for Runner Zen be randomly assigned. Right now, the bid war is at a point where Zen could pick their own character. So if you want them to get a random character, you might want to get your donations in.
I'm hitting everything but the enemy. Thank you so much. Yeah, because I don't want to use the pandas all the time because open your menu, of course, stops everything else. If I don't need to use the pan test, I will not activate it. So that's why you see me just trying to wiggle around with the PSG1 and trying to hit the enemies.
also, House mentioned earlier that he set up what they call the pentaz trick, where he ate a bunch of pentaz, and the values get stuck in memory, and we can play, start a new game, and he'll have like 5 minutes of, not 5 minutes, he'll have like 5 hours of pentaz running. When you take a continue, that trick disappears. It gets wiped from memory, and so that's why you see him using the pentaz in this section, because he had to take a continue at Vamp. He now actually has to open his menu and eat the pentaz, which obviously he loses time. When we open menus, the gameplay pauses, but the IGT doesn't. It's not, the IGT continues, so all the time you've got a menu open, time is ticking, but you're not continuing to do anything. The game is stopped, basically. The gameplay stops, timer still runs. So we'd like to not open our menus as much as possible, only when needed. And we do them very quickly, usually.
Here's Vam 2, watch out, and we gotta go for an extra round. Alright. Normally you can hit him in like one magazine he's done for, but I slightly missed him, I think, and then need to go for a second round. But yeah, it was Vam 2.
Well, you could play it risky, go for the IL strat, 2 headshots.
Ideally.
Yeah, Vamp's pretty trivial and not even really a boss fight both times in this game.
Yeah.
Generally in all difficulties, even in the hardest, he's not the worst boss in the game.
Yeah.
Although on European Extreme is a little bit more difficult. Normally you do non-lethal, although there is a lethal strat that I saw recently that's really cool. That actually makes him trivial, just like he is in every other difficulty. So that'll probably be the new thing that happens now. And this is the other section I was talking about early on, where there's a timer on screen. If House dies here, he will go all the way back to that room that he started this whole thing in. Just as he came out of the vent, he will just go back there. Whenever there's a timer on the screen, like House said earlier, if you take a continue at any point, even if he died in here, which is impossible, he would go all the way back to the whole section. And so you would lose a lot of time, and it would just be a nightmare. And it's happened. Pretty much all of us have done it.
Yep, that's why you don't want to knock out like too many panels there. Because it can accidentally happen that also your cartwheels, in the beginning they look good, and then at the end you slightly misalign yourself, and then you actually fall right into the gap on accident. So here we go. Now this part from the game is just a tutorial. We do get choked, but actually we don't need to do anything. We can just let it run its course. Get on real danger. It's actually preparation for the second phase later.
Yeah, you can't lose any HP here on any difficulty. It doesn't. There's no difference. You can let the O2 run down and you can't die.
Yep. Alright, and back to cutscenes. We always think of this game as first half and second half, at least I do. Specifically also because there's like so much story going on and just sitting, waiting. We saw it with the sniping section, of course, but it also like the amount of info dump you get now in the second half is a lot. But it's a Metal Gear game, you know, we love it for that.
Yeah. There's a neat little trick here in this section. Normally you'd have to wait for Rose to call you, but a lot of people didn't realize you could just hold select and call Rose, and it starts the codec call with her faster. Normally you just have to wait and you get a call from her. You don't have to wait. You can just call her and the same thing will happen. You'll actually get released a lot earlier. The sunglasses, the swag.
Yeah, if you play on New Game Plus Plus or any like dividable by 2 plus version, you actually get sunglasses.
Here it comes, actually some of the most tricky rooms. This room is pretty tricky for like when you learn this game, because it's based on timings. You have to answer these 2 codec calls. The first one you can just hold select entering this room and you'll just get it. It like buffers the input and you'll get it immediately. This one you have to time out and make sure you press it at the right time, because he needs to get the call so that the guards, the Tengus here, are in a specific point, so they're not moving around. And that allows him to get to that gap there you saw him cartwheel across, the gap of unfathomable doom, as we call it. If you drop down that gap, you lose 14 seconds instantly. That's it, because you have to run to the end of the room. And on normal, you've got Tengu shooting you a lot more. And so it's 14 seconds plus, I don't know, probably a second each time you get hit, and you get hit a lot.
And you might die, actually, because it's normal difficulty.
And you have no items. As you can see, Raiden doesn't have his suit. He's kind of naked right now.
There's
and
one rash in the
ration.
bottom right corner that you can use, but even then you might still die just because the guards fancy shooting you.
And he's just got to take a bunch of codec calls here, which we saw. Just going to skip this section. Actually, there is a trick to this section as well. You need to move far enough away north from the point of which you enter this room for it to be fast. If you stand around in the middle when you enter the room, the codec calls come in slower. Same in this section. There's a 45-second timer that's not on screen here. Like the game, it's an internal timer outside of the IGT. And it only starts when you swipe the sword, because this section is supposed to be a tutorial to get you used to the sword for an upcoming fight. And so you need to swipe the sword to start a 45-second timer. Obviously, most people wouldn't have known that. It doesn't tell you in game. It doesn't show anything. And
they just hope that you just go with your stick and be like, wiggle, wiggle, and hopefully
I guess it makes sense, because most people would mess around with the sword here, right? Have a bit of fun or whatever. So the timer will start generally anyway. And and also if you move, you need to move further north from Snake as well. You can't be standing around Snake for too much. Otherwise the timer takes longer to start. Things like that. It's slower.
Yep. All right, time for more action. We come to the final gauntlet. Yes.
Yep. Tengu 1, and then after that Tengu 2. House is going to do basically the same trick we saw earlier in the run on Tank at the Prozacs here, but he's not going to do it the same way. So you could skip. You can always be able to skip through doors. We used this trick before here in this section with Raiden. Raiden's PPK, he does the little like spinning kick, and it pretty much is the same as Prozac skip. So we've always been able to do this trick here. We've always used this trick. So getting through doors was always known. It's just that you couldn't do it on Tanker because Snake doesn't do the same kick. He doesn't have the same hitbox push that we needed. That's where Prozac came into, Prozac skip came into fruition. We were able to do that.
Yep.
Now
for the most confusing thing, we're gonna cool and spray these guys until the fight is over.
Yeah, Tengu 2. This is known as coolant skip for Tengu 2. This skip was already found and known and used. It was only thought to be usable on console, and it was used on console, even though I think there is a faster strat on console anyway.
Yeah,
but
there's different versions.
It was already viable, but only for console that we knew at the time. And then I think this was last year as well. About last year, at some point, another phenomenal runner. Pretty much like, I mean, he's the best runner in this game almost, pretty much for the most part.
The goat.
Platonic guy. He was messing around one day on Tengu 2 doing coolant stuff, and he found this out. And he found that the coolant skip actually does work on all versions of the game, all difficulties. I mean, you don't need to do it on anything from below normal. Easy and VE would just do the old-fashioned way, the normal way. But from normal and above, this saves time because the fight is longer on those difficulties.
Yep.
And he found this trick, found that it worked, and then another runner by the name of D-Limes13, who's another fantastic runner at this game and other Metal Gear games, made it a little bit more consistent by figuring out how many Tengus you needed to kick and knock down, basically, to get the alert to relatively stick and drop down. So
because the old version was on console, we just spray them until it's over. And we saw this, for example, for Tyler's ESA run this winter, where he was doing the PS2 version on extreme difficulty. And he was just spraying in, and at some point, because we don't see actually in a console run what the IGT is, like what the timing in general is, it was like spray, and all of a sudden, bike's over, alert drops, we're done.
Yep.
That was the old version then. And we have now a little bit of time to wear, so we're going to wait a few seconds here for Solid speech, and after that we're going right into the race. Quick explanation for the race. They have health bars. We're going to take out 7 of these on normal difficulty in total. So it doesn't even matter if we actually take out 7 rays. As long as we have in total 7 health bars worth of damage done, and that's the fight.
Yeah. This section is actually the only section of the game you can open a menu and the game will still run. Because Solidus' speech is running on an internal timer outside of the IGT, and so House can sit here and mess around with his menu, pause the game by holding the menu open, but Solidus will continue to talk, so you can't lose time here. Unless you induce lag, because certain section of this game, if you induce lag, you do lose time. It's like the one random thing, like I mentioned earlier that you couldn't, but there are certain sections you can. So yeah, House is going to do it. He's going to do this fight specifically. What he's going to do, he's going to set up what we call a loop, a raise loop. On higher difficulties, where you have to take out more rays, more health bars of damage, we do this thing where we set rays up. Specifically, we tack certain rays in an order, so that when they jump on stage, we get the specific ones to jump on stage that we want. This speeds up the fight. If you don't do the loop on higher difficulties, you basically just lose time, because any old ray will jump on stage, other rays will move around the wrong way. You just want them to be set up so that there is a rhythm to taking them out, and it's the most efficient way to do damage. Yep. Because like Hal said, we don't actually have to kill 7 rays, we just have to damage 7 rays worth in the fight. So he's not looking to kill 7 rays, he's just looking to damage them enough to do that equivalent amount of damage.
Yeah, the thing with races in the end, you just need to juggle really 3 at once. The others will wait their turn, basically.
Yeah.
And there can only be 1 on stage at all times, so that's what we're going to do here quickly.
It may seem easy, but it's really not. If you drop the loop, it's basically impossible to get back, and you just have to face the fact that you're going to lose time.
Yep.
So far, so good. House is keeping this loop going very nicely.
Oop. Not perfect, but it's fine. This one's important.
Yeah.
Wow,
Cool.
I
You still got it. You still got it.
That's good.
Nice.
That's good. Yeah, only 1 active right now. The other 2 are now leaving and bringing in 2 new ones. And after we killed these 2, we killed them. I think just damaged them enough. We're good to
it's
go.
leg head. Yeah, I think you just need to hit leg head twice.
Yeah,
Should
1
be
more
good
leg
after
and
that.
head, and we're good to go. Oh, come on, boy. Give me a head.
And another one.
Not quite. Alright. Let's go quickly evade here. It's fine. Come on. On your feet, soldier. I think this should be it soon. Oh, no, okay, well. Guess we're gonna do more damage today.
That one.
Ah, there we go, thank God. For
Lost
some
it a little
reason,
bit in the end there, but it wasn't the worst.
they demanded more blood as a sacrifice, I guess. And we gave them 12 seconds versus my goal, so I guess that's
I think it was when you missed that one that was stood on stage.
yeah,
Whatever,
probably,
like.
something like that. Yeah.
Here comes the actual torture section that we were on about earlier, where like the first one was just getting you like teaching you how to do it, the tutorial. This section you do need to mash for, or in our case we can just use turbo. House is going to mash because he likes doing stuff like that.
Because I get bullied from a good friend of mine who was like, just 20, I'm 31. She's like, oh, why don't you just much point do you use, Toby? You're young enough. And I'm like, I think. Let's see. So just to prove it, yeah, I can still do it. But I prefer having turbo.
You don't have to mash that much anyway. Like, I don't know what it is on normal, but I know on VE you can press the Y input or triangle input, depending on what controller you're on, 7 times and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
On the HD edition of this game, when they re-released it on Xbox and PlayStation for HD, they made every difficulty the same as VE, which is very like you just press the triangle input 7 times and you're good. You don't have to mash. Because on European Extreme, on all the other versions of the game, on the hardest difficulty, that is awful if you're not great at mashing. It is like a minute straight of mashing before that scene ends. And that's also why we allow turbo, because if you do that every day and you run this game, runs day in, day out, every hour, like your wrists are going to take some serious beating. And so, like Hal said, a lot of us are getting older. And
unfortunately.
Yeah. So here we are, we're on the final fight. This is literally the end of the game for the most part. After this fight, it'll just be a bunch of cutscenes he'll skip and then go to credits. And he's going to do another loop here as well. Similar to Ray's, the Solidus fight has a loop. He's attacking him on his bad side. Solidus has an eye patch. And it's just these are little fine details you don't think about from a casual standpoint. You don't know these things. But if you attack him on his side, he's got his eye patch on. He can't see you, so he'll actually just take damage. And so what House is doing is he's attacking him on his good side, where he does see you. He sees you, he blocks his attack, he hits him twice, and then he switches to his bad side with his eye patch, and then hits him again before the animation resets. Yep. And Solidus can't do anything. He blocks on his good side because he can see you, and then on his bad side, he can't see you, so you just hit him. And you just keep doing that.
Get ready for time as well. Once this boss is over, that's time. So as we reach the 0 health here, we're done.
We will call it.
Yep.
He's just going to keep repeating that 2 hits each time. If he hits him a 3rd time, he'll knock him down. So that's why House is only hitting him twice.
And time.
That's time.
Nice. Not my best run, but as we can see here, thanks once again to Beeman's overlay, we see the final time after the credits. That will be 1 hour, 8 minutes, and 33 seconds. Roughly a minute slower than my PB, but it's definitely a good time. Yeah, I'm happy.
For a marathon, it's respectable. And then the one at the top is the frame, and just the time in which the game ended. The final hit was on 59 minutes, 11 seconds.
And 11 seconds. Yep. All right, and as this is the end of the run, we're going to quickly do a few shoutouts. Shoutouts, of course, to Metal Gear Speedrunners if you want to learn this game, or any other, or even just a different difficulty. For example, if you want to learn very easy, it's a great category to get into, get started there, and then build the knowledge about the game if you want to go into normal or even European Extreme later. Check us out at MetalGearSpeedrunners.com. We have a great wiki where all the tutorials are there. Lots of great Discord where I teach you the game if you want, and many, many others as well. And if you want to see me stream this game, check me out at hau5test, basically everywhere, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, whatever you prefer. And where can people find you?
I haven't streamed in forever, but they can find me in the Discord.
You're just a cool guy in the Discord as well. Exactly.
I run. I do the run. I'm hanging out.
If you
I'm
can
helping
people. All right, thanks for, of course, being with me here today. It was a pleasure. And with that, we're going to give it back to the host. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much for that amazing run of Metal Gear Solid 2. We are about to go into an intermission to set up for our next run, which is going to be an all bosses unrestricted run of Metroid Dread, so be sure to stick around for that.